maybe concentrating on something. So sometimes we want to ignore that form of disability, but it is still a challenge that needs to be addressed. And I think more information is being shared more proactively, and I really like to applaud the players in the disability sector, especially the National Council for Persons with Disabilities, doing a very good job in terms of creating awareness on disability and also fighting for the rights of persons with disabilities. I know many other organizations like the United Disabled Persons of Kenya, also doing a very good job on advocacy, and many other organizations. Yes. And
now that you mentioned dyslexia, yes. I think in 2021, yes. We had a partnership here on Look Up TV with the Dyslexia Organization of Kenya. And it was very interesting just to see how many kids, yes. many children, students, learners yes. are affected, and teachers, parents, even the community itself might have called them dumb, just not understanding that there is a little challenge yes. in how they access information and how they see words, how they understand that understanding. So do you think then that the awareness, and even just with innovation, yes. it helps create more awareness of even the disabilities that we didn't know existed before?
Normally, it is very difficult for you to understand a disability if you've not interacted with it. If you have a relative with any form of disability, trust you me, and especially if they are very close to you, you'll tend to understand that disability more than any other disability. And especially even at the point of caregiving, you end up understanding the person even more than what an external would understand. We talked about access to information, awareness. And just because you've not interacted with such a challenge, it can be very difficult for you to even relate or support such a challenge. But see, like what you did, partner with the organization doing that work. Of course, people to understand dyslexia more, and even to understand other related disabilities to development or cognitive senses. And so what disability players are doing right now is to have more social interactions where in the society, in our entertainment, we bring in persons with disabilities and those without, and then try and synchronize even the kind of entertainment that we give persons with disabilities. So the more we integrate, the more we cause people to learn and understand about disabilities. Developmental disabilities are hard to detect. That's a big challenge because sometimes you might think someone is just slow. You think maybe people have even associated disability with witchcraft.
Right, right. And we make all these assumptions.
Very true.
Because we are ill-informed.
Yes, we think Nelima was sick and she maybe wronged someone spiritually, and so then she got akamfanyia kitu. That's how the disability came through the child. But really, it's not about witchcraft as such. I would say disability is something that will come even from our lifestyle, even from the environment. Sometimes we cannot control how we get disability. Right. Sometimes just a problem with your health, with your bones, could cause you to be amputated. And I don't think there's any challenge with, I don't think there's any spiritual or curse, spiritual curse or many things that people associate with disability that will come by you having an accident and you're amputated.
Yeah, so people just really need to be informed.
Yes.
And stop making assumptions and excuses and explanations.
Yes.
But now deal with it because it's here.
Yes.
Now how to embrace it.
And the good thing is that there are many disability players in the country today and also globally. There are many organizations that are doing a lot of work in terms of awareness. In Kenya, I know one organization that is really mobilizing the youth to understand. The organization is called Enable Me. It is bringing together a community of persons with disabilities, but now also opening the community to persons without disabilities so that youth can come together, learn together,
very important,
write together, play together, and attend even functions together. So the discussions that are normally run on that platform are mostly relating to how we can work together, understanding disability, understanding the causes for disabilities, prevention, how to even take care of persons with disabilities. And I think it's an amazing thing that is happening.
Right.
Yes.
And we do have to take a very short break. But when we come back, I want us to talk more about the kind of innovations that are there in Kenya at this moment. But the hashtag is The Morning Drift. We'll be coming back with so much more on the other side. Don't go too far.
Usienda nayo huko ndani, unaacha hapo kwa luggage ndio uingie.
Ni wacho kwa luggage namna gani nataka kutumia huko ndani? Nimekuja na hii gani ndio inatumika? Hii paketi ama hii kuchota? Kwani serious hii? Bwana wacheni mchezo bwana. Nini?
Karibu customer. Hizi bidhaa unaziacha pale kwenye luggage ndipo sasa ufanye shopping kwa supermarket yetu. Kuchota ni kufanya shopping pekee.
Ni kufanya shopping.
Raundi hii chota mapema na Hetia Supermarket ndio best. Kwa mara nyingine tena Hetia Supermarket inakuletea chota na Hetia Supermarket. Kushiriki shindano la chota ni rahisi. Ingia tu Hetia Supermarket iliyo karibu nawe Kitale, Bungoma, Eldoret, Kakamega, Kisumu, Busia, Naivasha, Limuru, Nairobi, Thika, Nyeri, Meru, Chuka na Maua. Nunua bidhaa ya shilingi 600 na zaidi na utapewa raffle ticket. Jaza vizuri na utumbukize kwa sanduku iliyo mlangoni. Utakuwa umeingia kwa draw ya kujishindia zawadi kama gari 7 aina Daihatsu Mira, pikipiki 21 aina ya TVS, 1130 school fees, TVS, microwaves, shopping vouchers na vingine vingi.
Bas, ni huku. Saidia bibi.
Chota kuchota imethaminiwa na Iwe Bacon, Savannah Juice Fruit Vial, My Choice Hand Wash, Zesta Choco Primo, Ketepa, Blue Band, Aramco, Oven Fresh Bread, Nivea, Silent Night Mattresses, Coca-Cola pamoja na Hisense. Shindano hili limeidhinishwa na BCLB permit number 002816. Sheria na masharti kutumika.
Chota kuchota na Hetia Supermarket, na hii motokaa kari smart kabisa inaweza kuwa yako. Unangoja nini? Ingia, fanya shopping yako Hetia Supermarket, uchoto kuchote na hii kari, hii motokaa inaweza kuwa yako. Mtu anaweza pesa kwa buta.
Hetia Supermarket, a world of choice.
Looking for an institution to further your studies and wholesome growth in serene environment? Kenya Methodist University is your best choice. Join us for diploma, degree, master's and PhD programs in business and economics, education and social sciences, science and technology, medicine and health science. TVET courses are also available. KEMU is a university of many firsts. The first Kenyan private university to graduate medical doctors, the first Kenyan university to offer online and distance learning mode of study, and now online or blended learning. The first Kenyan university to offer accelerated trimester system of learning, and the first private university to offer TVET courses. Enroll now for January 2023 and May 2023 intakes. Kenya Methodist University, the future is here.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College is focused on being the leading technical and vocational training institute in the region. Our team possesses in-depth knowledge and extensive experience in the industry, offering thorough training in cosmetology, hairdressing, interior design, creative arts, training of trainers, nail technology, and fashion design. With branches in Nairobi, Thika, Meru, Eldoret, and now in Mombasa, our courses ensure that learners are completely equipped with knowledge, competency, and employability skills. Enroll today to be a part of a center of excellence.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with Look Up TV. The hashtag is The Morning Drift. And remember, you can catch this live stream across all our social media platforms. Look Up TV on Facebook, Look Up TV on Twitter, and Look Up TV on our YouTube channel. This morning, we are talking about the need for disability innovation. And with me on set is Eugene Mushai. Welcome back once more. Welcome back. Of Amref Health Innovations. And let's continue with this conversation. What would you say is the reception of the rest of the society, and Kenya specifically, when you try to create the awareness that there is disability and we need to include it, and we can use the digital space to include people living with disability? What is the reception out there?
About 5 years ago, whatever the players in the disability sector were trying to tell the world is that you need to talk about disability anywhere you go, anywhere you are, and you need to put disability at the center of all development and policy. That was 5 years ago. The reception was totally bad. Disability was still seen as a challenge and a problem that should not be prioritized. I'm happy that in 2023, the world, and especially in Kenya, is receptive to the need for inclusion.
Right.
We've had organizations that have predominantly been business organizations now saying, out of the profits that we make, 10% or 15% or 7% will go directly to supporting disability. What does that do to the rest of the employees in the organization? It teaches the employees to accept and to support inclusion. So it moves from that organization, business organization, into the employees and then to the society through the people that they are serving. One good example is Unilever, Kenya, which is giving a lot of support to organizations dealing with disabilities. I've seen the government proactively having or introducing programs for persons with disabilities and even prioritizing the way they support them. What does that do to, for example, the political class? They need to talk about disability in all their conversations. That is happening in 2023. Right. The reception has also changed in the churches, where people in the past could only have a translator. Someone translate from English to Kiswahili or to vernacular. Yeah. But nowadays, I can see in most of the churches, we have the preacher, the translator, and a sign language interpreter. On top of that, I've seen many people even accepting to adapt their buildings. So it is coming from the leadership to the followers and also to the rest of the society. I've seen, like we discussed before, integration in schools, right. Where primary schools are being converted into integrated schools. So that we have less special schools and more integrated schools. So the reception is growing. The support that people are getting when they speak about disability and when people develop partnerships to support inclusion, then the support from the government in terms of awareness and the government agencies, the support from the business community, the religious groups is actually picking momentum. And I think if we can maintain this for the next 5 years, then inclusion will not be a foreign subject in this country. Right. Just for the next 5 years. Right. I know it can take a little bit longer, but with the advent of technology and digital interactions, then disability and inclusion can be made more part of our conversations. And I also love what you're doing in the media, having disability and inclusion discussed every single week. And that is amazing. Right. Great. Thank you. And what we were talking about over the break, like for
the process of just trying to integrate people living with disabilities with the rest of the society and the challenges that are there.
Yes.
And how hard it is for people who do not have disabilities then to understand how important it is to include them. So then that we say, given that there's no disability within my family, so it is a foreign subject. But why is it important for us to talk about it?
I want to give a practical example of this acceptance in the society about inclusion and disability. AMREF Health Innovations is very keen on working with community health workers across the country, hundreds of thousands of community health workers. And we realized in the process of developing digital solutions, web applications, other assistive technologies, we realized that the people who suffer the most are the people in the marginalized areas. So we were talking about the challenge of accepting or understanding disability, and how there's an information gap. And so in towns, in urban areas, information is well spread. At least most of the people are aware. In the marginalized areas, which is not very far from the urban centers. And it's actually, marginalized communities comprise the majority of the land in Kenya. And the majority of the populations might probably be in the marginalized areas. So how do we then transfer information from the digital spaces, from the urban centers to the marginalized areas? And so one of the projects that AMREF Health Innovations has done is to work with community health workers in the vulnerable communities, in the marginalized areas, to take the message of health, and especially inclusive health, to the communities. That means that today we have persons with disabilities who have been trained to diagnose or at least to do or to support screening for breast cancer and cervical cancer. In partnership with Roche East Africa, AMREF Health Innovations has trained over 100 community health workers with disabilities to now get into the community and tell the people in the community that I have a disability, but I can help you with cancer, knowing about cancer, screening for cancer, referring you to cancer care. And that has caused a ripple effect in terms of how people accept. We've seen community health workers with disabilities being converted from just community health workers to community health workers who are running businesses because of the kind of empowerment and acceptance that they've received. I know a lady who is a masseuse, and she's visually impaired. Out of just a simple empowerment that she was given, access to an accessible mobile phone, given by AMREF Health Innovations and Roche East Africa, and then a training that didn't take a very long time. So these things are possible. We can actually cause experiential education and awareness amongst the communities by just taking interventions to the communities that are less informed, less empowered. And then let's start having the transformation from that end, as opposed to having transformation from the cities going to the marginalized areas. It is very interesting when you can have someone talking to you about Braille, someone teaching you Braille from a remote area in, say, Laikipia County. And it's very interesting. So the best way to bridge the gap is to actually go to the marginalized areas and train persons with disabilities on advocacy, on basic social skills and life skills, on business empowerment, on career skills. And then let us start having role models in the communities and the societies now coming to the limelight. I think it's more powerful for a person with disability to transfer education to another person with disability, or to tell you about health.
That's true, it's more relatable.
It is relatable.
Sure.
And that causes a lot of social confidence and cohesion. And I think it's a big win that has happened. If we can have more organizations coming together and supporting the way training is dispensed to persons with disabilities, empower persons with disabilities, and let them be at the forefront of leading the societal change that we want. As we speak about inclusion, let persons with disabilities be empowered so that we don't just pick on one end and persons with disabilities are on the other end.
Okay.
Let's do it together.
And as you create that awareness in the remote areas,